For 18 years, I believed I knew exactly who my wife was. Her name was Claire, and for most of our marriage, I would have trusted her with my life. What I never imagined was that she could make a life-changing decision behind my back, hide it for months, and then expect me to smile when the truth finally came out. I'm Daniel. I'm 43, and Claire and I met when we were 24. We married 3 years later. We never had a perfect marriage, but I thought we had an honest one. We bought a house outside Columbus, Ohio, raised 2 dogs, survived layoffs and medical bills, and celebrated every anniversary with the same cheap bottle of champagne. Claire's younger sister, Megan, was always part of our lives. She was 6 years younger than Claire and had struggled with fertility for years. I knew she and her husband, Ryan, desperately wanted a child. We had talked about it many times. Claire felt terrible for her sister. Then, about 8 months ago, Claire started changing. She became protective of her phone. She began taking calls outside. If I entered the room while she was texting, her screen would disappear. I asked once if something was wrong. "Just family stuff," she said. I believed her. That was my first mistake. The second came when Claire suddenly started going to medical appointments twice a week. She told me she was helping Megan with paperwork and consultations. I never questioned it because I trusted her. If anything, I admired her for being there for her sister. But there were little things I couldn't explain. Claire stopped drinking wine. She complained about nausea in the mornings. Her clothes began fitting differently. One Saturday, I came home early from work and found her standing in the kitchen with Megan. The moment they saw me, they stopped talking. "What's going on?" I asked. Megan looked terrified. Claire smiled too quickly. "Nothing. We were just talking." I wanted to believe that. Then, 3 weeks later, I found a hospital envelope in Claire's car. My name wasn't on it. Neither was Megan's. I opened it. The first page was enough to make my hands go numb. It was a medical consent document identifying Claire as a gestational surrogate. For Megan. I read it twice. Then a third time. Claire was pregnant. My wife of 18 years was carrying a baby for her sister, and she had never told me. I confronted her that night. She didn't deny it. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "When?" She looked down. "After the baby was born." That answer hurt more than the secret itself. I asked the question that was already tearing through my mind. "Why would you do this without telling your husband?" Claire said Megan had begged her. Doctors had warned that another pregnancy might be impossible for Megan. Claire said she couldn't stand watching her sister lose the chance to become a mother. I understood the reason. I could not accept the betrayal. "You made a medical decision involving your body and our marriage without even giving me the truth," I said. She started crying. Then she said something that changed everything. "You would have said no." I stared at her. She was right. Not because I hated Megan. Not because I didn't want her to have a child. Because Claire had already crossed a line before I ever knew there was a decision to make. I asked when the embryo transfer happened. She hesitated. 7 months ago. 7 months. For 7 months, I had kissed my wife goodnight while she carried a secret that could change our entire marriage. Then I noticed something else on the document. The fertility clinic listed the intended father, Ryan. But beside his name was a handwritten note. "Paternity confirmation pending." I looked at Claire. "What does that mean?" Her face went completely pale. She didn't answer. I picked up the document again and noticed the date of the paternity test request. It had been filed 2 months before the embryo transfer. That meant someone already suspected the baby might not belong to Ryan. Claire finally whispered that Megan knew the truth, but she had sworn her to silence. I felt the room tilt beneath me. I suddenly knew my marriage had been built on something I never saw. I looked at Claire and waited for an explanation, but she kept staring at the floor. "Daniel, please," she whispered. "You need to understand." "Then explain it." She finally raised her eyes. "The baby is Megan's. I was only carrying it." "That isn't what I asked." Her silence told me everything. I picked up the document again and pointed at the note. Why was paternity confirmation pending before you even became pregnant? Claire started crying. She told me the truth in pieces. Megan had undergone several failed fertility treatments. Eventually, doctors found a donor who could provide an embryo. But before the transfer, Megan had admitted that Ryan had been struggling with infertility too. She was terrified he would leave her if they couldn't have a child. Then Claire told me the part that made my stomach turn. Ryan wasn't the biological father. Megan had secretly used another man's genetic material. And Claire knew. But there was more. I asked why the paternity test had been requested. Claire said Ryan had started questioning the pregnancy because the timing didn't make sense. He had become suspicious of Megan, and Megan had begged Claire to help keep the secret until the baby was born. So you lied to me for her? Claire shook her head. I thought I was protecting my sister. You were protecting a lie. She didn't argue. That night, I slept in the guest room. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about 18 years of marriage and wondering how many other things I had accepted simply because I trusted her. The next morning, Claire asked me to come downstairs. Megan and Ryan were sitting in our living room. Ryan looked exhausted. Megan looked terrified. I realized immediately that this wasn't a family conversation. It was an intervention. Megan apologized first. She said she never intended to destroy my marriage. She only wanted a child. I asked her one question. Why did you need my wife to lie to me? She had no answer. Then Ryan stood up. I need to tell you something. I looked at him. He told me he had discovered the truth 3 weeks earlier. The baby wasn't genetically his. Megan had confessed that she had secretly arranged everything with the fertility clinic and had convinced Claire to become the surrogate. But Ryan didn't know about Claire's involvement until later. Then he said something I couldn't forget. She told me you knew. I turned toward Claire. You told Ryan I knew. Claire broke down. She had told Ryan that I had agreed to the arrangement because she was afraid he would expose the truth about Megan. That was the moment something inside me went completely cold. She hadn't simply hidden the truth. She had used my name to protect herself. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten anyone. I simply stood up and said, "We're done." Claire followed me into the hallway. "Daniel, please don't leave." I looked at her. "You made your choice months ago." For the first time, she realized I wasn't arguing. I contacted an attorney that afternoon. I documented every message, every medical appointment, every financial record connected to the pregnancy. I didn't touch the money in our joint accounts, and I didn't make reckless decisions. I wanted everything handled legally. Claire expected anger. What she didn't expect was silence. I moved into a small apartment and stopped answering personal calls. Communication went through the attorney unless it involved an emergency. Within weeks, the entire situation collapsed. Ryan filed for separation from Megan. Megan's carefully constructed story fell apart when the clinic records came out. And Claire finally admitted that she had known from the beginning that the pregnancy was surrounded by deception. Then came the part one never expected. Claire asked to meet me alone. We sat across from each other in a quiet restaurant where we had celebrated our 10th anniversary. She looked different. Older. Smaller. "I lost everything," she said. I nodded. "You lost my trust first." She cried. "I still love you." I believed her. But love wasn't enough anymore. For 18 years, I had believed marriage meant standing beside someone through difficult things. I finally learned that marriage also required honesty when the truth was inconvenient. Claire chose her sister's secret over her husband's trust. I didn't revenge her with another woman. I didn't destroy her financially. I simply stopped protecting the person who had chosen to betray me. The divorce became final months later. Megan eventually had her baby, but her marriage didn't survive the truth. As for me, I kept the house, changed nothing about my life that I didn't need to change, and slowly learned how to trust my own instincts again. People asked whether I regretted leaving after 18 years. I always gave them the same answer. I don't regret the 18 years. I regret believing that 18 years meant someone could never lie to me. Because sometimes the person standing beside you isn't the person you thought you married. And sometimes the hardest revenge isn't hurting them back. It's walking away and refusing to let their choices destroy the rest of your life.